welcome to We'll Throw the After Party. I hope you've poured a drink. I hope you pulled up a seat because, y'all, it is about to get loud about Ms. Marvel episode 2. I am finally back with the besties. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi.
And a big round of applause for y'all, like, holding down the fort last week. Like, you did such a great show.
It's all Sly.
It was all of you.
It was
a
rough show for me last week, so that was you two.
But we had so much fun.
We had so much fun. Oh no,
lost.
hold on. We lost Alexis, but it's okay. Alexis is coming back. It's perfect. No, I think you did so good. You had so much fun. I was like in the comments. If you want to see my thoughts on some of their conversation, I'm in the comments of last week's episode, like trying to give my 2 cents. What a huge start to a huge new Marvel show, and finally a show I think we can all come to the table with and be like, we're enjoying this.
Yes.
What a luxury to do commentary on a show we're actually all enjoying, right?
I know. I'm like, I don't know how to talk about it because it's so good.
Our whole show is based on ripping things apart. What are we going to say when we actually enjoy something? I guess then we have this show to figure it out, which is a great testing run for all of us. But before we get into that, because we have a lot to say about Ms. Marvel this week, if you're new here, welcome. I'm producer Liz. I'm producer Liz everywhere on the internet. I talk about PR, pop culture, and sometimes I go to New York and see a lot of famous people. So you'll hear some of those stories from me tonight. And I am joined by all the besties. So Marissa, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm at Missabobissa on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And I talk about theater and wigs and basically anything available on Disney+. And I graduated college! I almost forgot!
Be a college graduate. You cannot argue with her. She got that, what is it, a BA in comms and media and feminism and talking and writing and being right? Is that
Honestly,
your exact title?
That is pretty close.
Marissa Babissa, a BA in being right. Like, I want the desk, like the desk black. Yeah.
Yeah, nameplate. Yeah.
I
have a
always
BA in being
so
right.
my college comms could go either BA or BS, so I got a BS. So I have a bullshit.
You have a BS in being right.
I technically
I have a BS
have a
right.
I only have a comms minor. I was a comms major for a while, but I have a liberal arts degree.
Because
So
you have a liberal arts degree, and what else do you do on the internet? Who are you?
I already said it.
Did you say all the things? Did you
I
say you did Thirsty Thursday this week with Sly and JJ about the Tonys?
You did not.
Oh, I did. Well, that already happened. How are people gonna go watch it?
Well, it was still I think it was a great thing to plug. I watched it. I had a great time. And obviously with the Tonys this past week, we're going to talk about the Tonys tonight as well a little bit. If you didn't see the commentary on Thursday, perhaps we'll bring back a little bit of it. And then perhaps there are photos from outside the Tonys that y'all will see in their blurry, shiny joy tonight from me. All the congrats in the chat for Missa Bobissa, BA and being right. We're so happy for you. I love this community, and I'm seeing all the nice comments welcoming me back. I missed y'all last week, but I'm glad you had fun. Alexis, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
And you had a big rebrand as well. So are you still at Alexis Blake Reads Comics? Do we need to?
I am on TikTok because I see, the problem is I feel like that account really like pigeonholed me into one thing, and neither my personality or the ADHD really do well with that. So I wanted some space on the internet where I could be more authentically myself, and so I've kept that title on TikTok so I can keep all my old videos in like the same lane. But I'm Alexis D Blake with an underscore everywhere else on the internet, where I'm just talking about my life and 911 and my cats and 911 and 911.
And giving the best OOTDs on your Instagram story. Give us some warning next time before your husband has something to say.
Thanks. Thank you.
Sly, are you doing well with your wife's incredible OOTD content?
I mean, I'm always the fan of people appreciating, because you deserve to be appreciated by everything. So
the silence was beautiful. Well, Sly, you had a big week last week. Congratulations to you. You did how many lives? 52, I think, in one day. How many lives did you do?
I think my max amount of shows in one day was 5. But there was a lot. over multiple days. We were doing multiple shows. Of course, you can find all of that content on 61indie.com. That's all spelled out, SIXONEINDIE.com/summer. All the links are accumulated there. We both teams had people not feeling so hot, so we took the week off yesterday, and we'll be back at it later. But yeah, I got pretty sick this week, so I haven't been doing much. But if you don't know who I am, hi, I'm Sly. I'm a deaf queer Jane Austen fan, hanging out here, and of course, we're here. We're queer, and we're throwing the after party.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Love
Happy
this
June.
energy. Now, I really do feel this week is a week where we have to emphasize the Jane Austen fan in your line, because what a week for Jane Austen fans on the internet. And I think we're going to get into that.
It's something.
Yes, Alexis, cheers. The right energy. Mm-hmm. But before we get to Jane Austen, are we talking about Jane Austen in this next segment? No. Before we get to Jane Austen, before we get to Miss Marvel, before we get to the Tonys, I think it's time for everyone's favorite segment of the week. Let's do some rants. If you don't know how we do this, every week we have 2 minutes to share a rant about whatever we want pertaining to pop culture, and we're going to cut each other off every 30 seconds. So it's a bit chaotic, it's a bit loud. Enjoy the chaos. This week, I shall be ranting about why Miss Marvel should absolutely be compared to Disney shows. Marissa?
I'm going to defend Selena Gomez's honor.
So you're just like defending yourself? That's
Yeah.
confusing. Okay, Sly.
I love when Liz doesn't follow the show doc and gives us all a fright. But
Oh, not me missing. I missed an entire segment. Oh, well, I was excited to do my rant. We'll circle back.
I was like, I didn't know what we've been enjoying is
Listen,
everyone's favorite segment.
It's only the 10th time Liz has skipped it. It
I'm
happens all the
sorry.
time.
I literally, it's because I was scrolled down just to like rants at the top of my page. Listen, let's do some rants and then we'll circle back. How's that sound, besties? I'm so sorry. Why did it take you this long to call me out? Also, it's a conversation
It's
for
good.
later.
It's good.
I'm gonna go get an actual alcoholic beverage, I think, pretty soon. But anyway, let's do some rants. We'll circle back. Sly, what are you ranting about other than me being bad at my job?
I haven't seen you in a hot minute, which just means I need to get all of my sassy energy towards you
I
out
respect it.
at the top.
I
But I'm
feel
gonna be
loved.
ranting about how some names just aren't dyslexic friendly, and I'm sorry about that, but it's a conversation we need to have.
And Alexis, are you ready to rant?
I'm going to be ranting about heists that are really bad.
And like once again, I feel like I want to defer all of my time, but like let's see how we do. I don't know how I'm gonna follow you this week, bestie. Okay. Let's get into it. Y'all ready? If you're on TikTok, make sure to come watch on YouTube and Twitch. Hello to all of our friends. I'm seeing you in the chat. Link is up in producer Liz's bio or anyone's bio if you want to come over and hang out with everyone else on YouTube and Twitch. But let's get into it. I'm still thinking about Alexis's. I have to like get out of that headspace and think about what I wanted to say. Okay. So I go offline for 1 week and all of a sudden men have something to say, which doesn't feel new to me, except it was about Disney Channel. And while Marissa did a great job defending the Disney Channel fans on TikTok, I feel like I have something to contribute to the conversation, which is just how many Disney shows should feel honored to be influenced in Miss Marvel. Like we're talking about a style of genre that's always been empowering to women and centering female friendships. And Miss Marvel's doing that so beautifully. So here are Disney Channel shows. If you're not familiar with, you should go binge watch on Disney Plus to help you inform your Miss Marvel viewing experience.
Speaking of Disney Channel shows, Selena Gomez is an actor. Oh my God. Okay. It's Emmy FYC season. We're campaigning for Emmy nominations. And apparently everyone is surprised that Selena Gomez can act and that Selena Gomez is funny. And we're getting this like pop star to surprise comedy actor narrative that I'm just not here for because it is Wizards of Waverly Place erasure and I will not stand for it.
All right, there's a lot of like importance around the conversation about names, which is like so valid, and like totally accept that this conversation is going to be a very low level commentary here. But some names are just not dyslexic friendly, and no matter how many times I try to read them and try to learn them, I am going to struggle because letters are hard, and reading certain shapes is going to be a challenge. And like I feel so bad about that,
Hey,
but
stop breaking into shit unless it's gonna be cool. Okay? Like people have broken into stuff since the beginning of time. Unless you are gonna make it worth my while, stop doing it. So recently there has been a lot of really lame crime. Okay. In May, someone got into the Louvre to spread cake on the Mona Lisa. And like I get that this was in protest, but like there was nothing like cool about it.
Oh, it's my turn. Sorry, I was muting bots on TikTok. Okay, Lizzie McGuire. I see so much Lizzie McGuire referencing, especially with like the inclusion of animation. So I would absolutely go watch Lizzie McGuire or rewatch it if you have not. I think Kim Possible also in the dynamics between Bruno, like and how he's like the techie one. Like I see so much of that like side quest influence, and it's just so cool to see how wholesome he is. Very reminiscent of like both that and also iCarly, I think, which is a Nickelodeon show, but of the same era.
Apologies to pop star Selena Gomez. I just have to say, I prefer her as an actor. I'm sorry. I think her music is fine. It's not my favorite. I will ride or die for A Year Without Rain. But other than that, she's an actor first. I would like her to be an actor first. And I understand that, you know, most of her audience comes from her being a pop star. So it makes sense that we're drawing that line in the campaign. But come on.
I know there's this like history of like, you know, people not respecting names, and that's so important and valid. But I am so terrified every time there's a name that is hard for me to read that I'm gonna fuck it up, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, like dumb, ignorant white person." But I'm just dyslexic, y'all. Like letters flip, weird shapes happen. Reading names is hard, and I'm trying. I promise you all, I'm trying.
Like you snuck some cake in like a purse and you came in with a tour group and you threw it at a Da Vinci. That's not even really a Da Vinci anymore because it's been restored like 50 million times. There is nothing like why? Okay. And then more recently on June 3rd, dude broke into the Dallas Museum to break a bunch of stuff, like because he was mad at his girlfriend. So he like just picked the lock and walked in and broke a bunch of vases and then like sat down on the bench and waited.
And then
to be
you have
caught.
shows like that. So Raven, and you have shows like Hannah Montana that are so centered around the power of having like friendship and close-knit circles while you lead some kind of double life. I see so much of that in Miss Marvel for like very obvious reasons. So for someone to try and say, and specifically for a man to try and say that like, oh, it reminds me of a Disney Channel show, as it fucking should, my guy. And you know what? You tearing down that narrative and trying to make it a bad thing only proves the point when media is not made for men. They inherently see it as problematic without giving it a fair shot.
Once again, speaking to the power of the Disney Channel, Selena Gomez would not have even been a pop star without the Disney Channel. Her album, her like, you know, singer arc was written into her Disney contract. So she wouldn't even be a pop star if she hadn't been on a TV show. Okay? She's an actor first. And yes, honestly, stan Selena Gomez in the scene, but the later stuff, I don't need.
Okay, so some of the like the hardest names, right? It's not the really long names. It's not the really short names. It's those medium length names that like all are kind of the same like letter length, right? It's names that have lots of double letters or lots of letters with the same shapes, right? It's names that have letters that will flip but have both of those letters occurring in the same name. Like why would you choose that?
Like you were there and the security guard, the night guard who's probably 200 years old, found you and told you to sit on a bench and you sat there. And reading the article, I was still waiting for the actual con. Like, I'm like, surely this guy broke in to break all these pots while somebody else stole something really important in the back. But like, no, you were just there breaking shit. Like, why? Why are you going to jail for like 15 years?
I can't with this. thing. I just don't want to. I wanted to let Alexis keep going. I could listen to you do this for 2 hours straight. Basically, I'm only repeating the points that have already been made. But if you have shit to say about a female origin story, why don't you come on our show and say something about it and actually have a productive conversation? Your 1 minute inflammatory clickbait is so sick and tired and shows how delusional you are as a creator. So keep clinging to your platform. But we're here to show you that there's space and that we have space and we want that space to continue. Thank you so much.
I hate when you yield time to me. Okay, pop off, honestly. In conclusion, Alex Russo did define a generation. Thank you very much. And I think leaving her out of the conversation when looking to Selena's performance on Only Murders in the Building is reductive, because a Mabel on Only Murders in the Building would not exist without Alex Russo. She would not exist without Alex Russo. And yes, she does deserve an Emmy nomination for Only Murders in the Building, but like, let's give Wizard some love, please. Thank you. Selena Gomez is an actor. A Year Without Rain is a great song.
So, yes, a lot of people just completely disregard names that are not familiar to them, which is bullshit, and that needs to be a conversation. But also, some people just can't read. Some people are just illiterate like me. And, like, yeah, I could probably solve this problem by learning IPA, but that sounds like a lot of effort. So, you know, I'm trying. I may not be trying as hard as I should, but it's a work in progress. We're all flawed humans. So this is my formal apology for everybody whose name I've mispronounced.
More news came out about the Iron Stewart Gardner Museum heist this week because it was related to a mob hit. And at that same time, you decided to give me broken pots in the Dallas Museum of Art. Like, also this week, we learned more about Jerry and Rita Atler, who were just friends living in New Mexico, like working as speech pathologists. And no one knew they stole a $150 million Koenig until they died. And you're going to give me broken pots in the Dallas Museum of Art? Like, really?
I am now going to kindly ask, but more so demand, Alexis, I would like a PowerPoint of your top 10 heists and your top 10 least favorite heists.
I can do that for you.
I would listen to you talk about rating heists for hours. Just like new TikTok series, like rating heists out of 10 alpines. No half alpines allowed.
We'll do it. Sly gets a lot of it every week because I'll be like, hey, look, I'm learning about wine fraud today. Here's everything you need to know about wine fraud.
I saw a TikTok this week that was like me. I think Brittany Broski posted it to her Instagram stories, but it's like me like cleaning my room, listening to the voice memos my friend sent me as like my podcast of the night. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is this friend group. That is us. Because anytime I get like more than 2 minutes from Alexis, I'm like, what task can I get done? Is it time to do a dish? Is it time to cook a meal? Like, it's time for me to be productive somehow and just listen to Alexis teach me something I don't know.
Or if you're me, you actively have a conversation back with the voice. Alexis will be just dropping hot knowledge, and I'll be like, yes, you're so right. Like, she can't hear me.
Someday we're all going to be in the flesh, and we're going to actually get to see how we react to each other when we go off on rants, and it's going to be so beautiful, because right now it's all one-way communication other than this show.
Yeah.
I love you guys so much. Okay, now that you've forgiven me, let's go back to our top segment, which is what we've been enjoying this week. I'm going to go last. I'm going to segue it into some New York content. Marissa, would you like to start?
Yes. Last week I said I would watch First Kill, and I did watch First Kill. It's not good, but it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. I watched the whole thing in 24 hours. I watched 8 hours of television in 24 hours. I audibly gasped several times. The rules of the universe make no sense. I don't understand the stakes. I don't think the show understands its own stakes. It is like at once camp and very, very, very serious. Like, it's a wild ride.
So
I would highly recommend
the show.
And then also, I put both of these shows in the show doc, and I was like, there's no theme here. I also watched What We Do in the Shadows. There's a very clear theme: vampires. So I've also restarted What We Do in the Shadows because season 2 comes at the end of July. And also, I just really love it, and it's fun, and it's a nice thing to like watch when you want to turn your brain off for a second. Vampires. Also, I read the Miss Marvel. What? Well,
no.
I also
sorry. You finished your thoughts.
Well, I don't know. I wrote it here, so I'm going to say it here. I also read one of the Miss Marvel collections on Marvel Unlimited. It's not every comic she's ever appeared in. It's like 19 issues. But I learned a lot. I read it after watching this week's episode because I had a lot of questions and I got a lot of answers. So
we love a deep dive case. We love doing your own homework. So how many?
I feel like it's kind of like a Pandora's box though, because like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like you're stuck now.
Yeah.
Sly, have you read the Miss Marvel series?
I've read the first issue of a couple runs. Because I read all of the covers that were featured in Marvel's Avengers. Like those were the ones I started with. So I've not read all of it, but I've read like a little taste.
I feel like we have a good range then because we have me, who has read 0. We have Alexis and Marissa, which are like deep dive, true crime, only murders in the building style, ready to analyze. And then we have you, which is like a little bit in both lanes. Am I right?
Most of my Miss Marvel reference is Marvelous Avengers, which, not a good game, but a fun game. And I stand by that.
It's art. Did you talked about that last week, didn't you?
I did.
See, I just watched last week's episode, so now my references to last week are going to be some semi-fresh. Marissa, I cut you off. Is there anything else that you were enjoying?
Oh, no,
this week
that was it. I'm done. And I'm ready to talk about everything I learned from the comics once we get into Miss Marvel.
All right. Well, we're almost there. Alexis, I know something you never talk about on this show is a heist. Would you like?
Yeah. This week I've been enjoying heist stuff and 911 Lone Star stuff, which are both things I never ever talk about. So there's this series on Netflix. It came out a long time ago. But it was called Heist, and it was this weird ass documentary series that did 6 episodes, but each pair of episodes was based on a different heist. So 6 episodes, 3 heists, and they were supposed to be like fairly modern heists that had like some area of interest. And the documentary kind of played with like having actors play some characters, but not others, or having actors play a character in a con, like certain parts of the time. So it was very like surreal, which it is not the type of documentary that I really enjoy. But 2 of those episodes were about the Kentucky bourbon heist. And I consumed a lot of information about the Kentucky bourbon heist this week. So this was a heist of Pappy, which is like a very, very expensive Kentucky bourbon. And the man that was accused of stealing the Pappy was accused of it because he had stolen and sold about like 150 cases of other bourbon. Right. But not the Pappy. And what is really fascinating about this story is that I don't know why everybody is laughing.
Sorry. It's just something that's happened that I was trying to be subtle about. Can we pause just briefly, Sly? Let's hand the floor over to you.
Hi, yes. In case you do not know, we are not all women here. Absolutely not.
Are you frozen on TikTok for anyone else or just me?
Oh, you are. Oh, no.
No. What is happening? Hold on. Sly is coming back
really
to the stream. TikTok really said absolutely not. Okay, hold on. Okay. Sly, it's all you.
Now okay. We are not all women here. I'm joined by some lovely women, but if you're going to make a comment about there being too many women, at least do your research and check everybody's pronouns before you leave a fucking comment.
If you're going to send bots to our show, at least have them be correct, okay? We get a lot of weird comments, but we're not going to deal with the ones that misgender us, okay?
If you're going to say we need at least one day, check to see if we have a they.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy that we...
Disgusting way to talk about someone. Anyway.
Truly. Okay, sorry to the YouTube audience. We've had to address that. So for everyone on TikTok, hopefully it's clear now who you're watching and why, and perhaps do some research on the show before you come attack us. Now, please continue talking about heists. Unless, Sly, if you want to interject at any point with any additional
Yeah.
thoughts, if you're like me and you're like, you think about a response too late, just come back in at any time and
Totally
continue
interrupt
going.
me. I don't care.
No, just if you're gonna leave a comment, at least do your research. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
Fact check.
Go ahead, Alexis.
He stole a bunch of other bourbon, right? And then come to find out he did not actually steal the bourbon that everybody cared about. But the fascinating part of the story is that they tried to paint this man as like a good old blue collar boy that just like got in over his head. Which I could buy if he wasn't also selling illegal guns and steroids from Mexico to beef himself up for a rec softball team in Franklin, Kentucky. And at that point, like you're just running like a small crime family with your realtor wife in the hills of Kentucky. Which is incredibly on brand. So that was fun. I watched that. I don't recommend it. The heist is interesting, but I don't recommend this series at all. And I also decided to restart 911 Lone Star and to watch it from the beginning, since it is my entire personality now. And the first season is a thing. And I think I forgot how much Rob Lowe is in the first season of this show.
Mhm.
But I also discovered this week, because, hey, I really like Gwen. I really liked TK's mom. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out why they made Gwen who she was, like why she was a lawyer. Felt like there were a lot of other interesting careers for her to have. And, why she wore sweaters in the South, among other things. And then this week, after all of the content about this goddamn show that I've consumed, this week, it clicked after reading an article that she is the woman that Sam Seaborn sleeps with in the first episode of The West Wing. So I have decided that that prostitute to lawyer storyline is just canon in both verses. We're just going to keep it in both places. That is why it has rocked my
She
world.
was a high-end call girl putting herself through law school, so it fits.
It fits. It works. It totally works.
Where is the fic about this? There has to be a fic about this. I don't believe that there's not.
I did read. I read a bunch of 911 fix. No, 911 Lone Star fixes. No, 911 fix this week. No, we're on 911. 911 OG. My brain is a tricky place. And what I found so fascinating about them is that there are a lot of references to like, the guy that looks like the dude from Step Up. And I get it. I get what we are trying to accomplish there. But it's also hysterical to me because every time I'm like, Petty Diaz looks nothing like Channing Tatum. Because that is the guy from Step Up that I would assume most people would think of. Like, I think outside of this show, nobody is saying the guy from Step Up in meaning Ryan Guzman in like Step Up 4. But anyway, I'm done. Take it away.
Revolution was a trip and a half, let me tell you.
I think we need to do a show just about the Step Up movies at some point. I don't know if it's a watch party. I don't know what it is. We need to do something. There's something to unpack there. Speaking of Step
Before
Up,
we do that, everybody has to read the Step Up 911 fic crossover that is
required reading before
Yes,
next
required
week's
reading.
episode. But
it's honestly such a fun fic.
I was going to pass it over to you, Sly, as our in-house Step Up expert. Which is obviously why
Step Up like this year for the first time.
you are expert, bestie. I'm not convinced I've seen all of them.
I've seen none of them, and I know that for a fact, and I will not.
I have not seen all of them, but God damn it, I can do the dance from the first one.
I feel like my role on
the
this show is
choreography is
just to
pretty
come
good.
and be like, anything Sly likes, I've never watched, and I never will.
Again, a
Honestly.
range. Slime, did you enjoy anything this week?
I have only been enjoying things that require zero brain power, which means I've been continuing my The West Wing rewatch. I've watched through season 6 and I'm just starting on season 7, which is great. We have the Santos era. I forgot that Terry Polo plays Matthew Santos's wife. That was exciting. I love Terry Polo. She was in a short in it must have been like 2016. That went to the International Film Festival that is in the town next to me. That was incredible. She's awesome. So that's exciting. Yeah, it's just been I've been reading some fics, one of which Liz sent me, and I don't necessarily want to talk about the content, but it was fascinating. I'll say that. Um,
We will not name that fic on this show.
Liz and I
We are
send
not
wildly
naming
different recommendations, is all I have to say.
So that
This was something I
fun.
pulled out of the 2013 archive in the back of my brain and said, I remember this being highly impactful of the time. And I just sent it to Sly. And Sly started giving me feedback, and I was like, oh, I forgot all about this.
Abort mission.
It was something I asked for. It was exactly what I asked for, so I can't fault Liz for that. But yeah, I've also been reading a lot of supernatural AUs to JJ's gross dismay, but I'm having a blast with that. There's like 3 Regency era AUs that are supernatural
Yeah.
fanfics, and I had so much fun.
I heard all about
and
it
then I
on Thirsty
caught up-
Thursday. It was not the topic of the show. But it became the topic for
You
a
have
while.
to go into Thirsty Thursday understanding it's going to be the topic and fan
Oh,
fiction.
Absolutely.
It's always
Oh, yeah.
both.
My mom was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the Tony Awards, I think.
I think
We can't drag
JJ
JJ
was
into this
very
during Pride
clear-
Month. How rude of us.
JJ was very clear on only sending me 2 supernatural fanfics, and I read them, and they were incredible. And then another person I follow on TikTok recommended a couple more fics, and they were incredible. And I had asked during Thirsty Thursdays, like, hey, who are the like writers on AO3 that are great for people who are never gonna watch this godforsaken show, right? And I don't remember who recommended, but somebody gave me, a username on AO3, and I've been working through all of their AUs, like none of their like canon adjacent, but just all the AUs, and I'm having a blast. So yeah.
I love this journey for you. I love this journey for you.
Oh my God, wait.
I also caught up. What?
AO3 went out this week, right? That has happened. That happened in the last 7 days.
Yeah. AO3 went down for a couple hours, and it was a tragedy, but I got a popular tweet out of it. So like,
As long as you
You
can
know.
Great tweet.
benefit. As long as you can benefit.
it was a great
Am I
tweet.
right?
I was very proud of that tweet.
You should be proud of that.
Yeah. And then speaking of godforsaken things, I caught up on Kenobi, which is amazing and
I'm
incredible.
not caught up.
So nostalgic. I'm not gonna
So
say anything about it, but every time I watch it, I'm like, I want to rewatch the prequels, and like I know there's issues, but I have such reverence and such love. Like those were the movies that were my childhood. Like I loved Star Wars, but the prequels were like my Star Wars, right? And I had such formative experiences around those movies, and every time I watch Kenobi, I'm like, I just want to rewatch the prequels, and I haven't done it yet because I want to preserve that like rose-colored nostalgia glasses. And so I'll do it. I'll probably as soon as Kenobi's over, but I'm feeling nostalgic for the prequels, y'all, and nobody gets to talk to me about how bad they are because I know they weren't good, but they were a formative experience for me as a kid,
there's a lot of love for
and there
them
were
out
great
there.
moments in them.
This is not the show to get into like Star Wars discourse. I must say, if anyone in the comments is like typing out, like, no. This is like a safe space to just enjoy Star Wars. We're not here for Star Wars discourse. We're here for Star Wars enjoyment. This is a safe space to enjoy Star Wars however you would like. For example, if you don't know, I don't personally hate Jar Jar Binks, and every time I say that, Marissa loses a day off her life. Am I right, Marissa?
It's because you like Jar Jar Binks. I think it's because you've made it Marissa's nickname against her will.
Mm-hmm.
On what I understand as one very drunken night, we decided that was Marissa's nickname.
Yeah, Marissa in my phone is Misa Jar Jar. Shout out to the Instagram group chat that started that. So if you would all like to refer to Marissa as Misa Jar Jar, you have my permission to.
Yeah. It started, I got one TikTok comment that said, your username looks like Gungan. And I was like, I don't love that. And then
I love that. It makes
I told
me
a group
happy.
of creator friends and they took that and really ran with it.
I think Naira was the one that coined Misa Jar Jar, and I decided that was it.
Yeah.
That was the peak of humor. So Misa Jar Jar, welcome to Will There the After Party. Hooray!
You're welcome.
Okay, I want to get to Miss Marvel at some point tonight. So let me tell you about my week in New York. Quite a bit happened while I was in New York, and I figured there were some certain pieces of information that would be of interest to our viewers and everyone that comes and hangs out with us every week. So allow me to present, if you're watching on TikTok now, it's the time to come over to YouTube and Twitch so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Liz's week in New York as told through 1 pixel photos of celebrities from far away. Started off with the best picture. We met Simu very briefly outside of Stephen Colbert, which was very lovely. This is a screenshot from a video. We said, hey, like, we're from Canada. We loved you on Kibbs. He was like, thank you so much. Love you guys. Have a good night. And he got in his car, and it was very cute and wholesome. So that was like 10 out of 10 run-in experience. We also were supposed to be behind a barricade, but because we had come out of the show, we were standing with all the crew who didn't know why we were there, so no one stopped us from talking to him. Very fun. Next, we did see Funny Girl. Beanie was not in. It was the sub, Julie, who was freaking fantastic. She was so good. I could not imagine seeing it with Beanie. That's how good it was. And we met the Mr. Leading Man after the show, Canadian King icon, who was very, very kind to us. We were a little bit starstruck. My Jean Valjean forever. So it was truly a formative moment. There's a video of it. I think it's already on my TikTok if you want to see more. Also met Miss Amber from TikTok. If you know Amber, she used to be in the Hamilton cast, and she would do like the picking TikTok dances for one of the dance breaks in Hamilton. Met her. I kind of gushed a little bit because I've been following her forever, but she's very kind and sweet as well. And then a week ago today was Miss Taylor, of course. Vlogs are out on that if you want to see all of it. So stage dooring is actually back. Every show is stage dooring this week, which was super exciting. So you can go stage door. We did for Funny Girl. We did for POTUS. We got signatures from both. It was great. We also went to Music Man. We saw Hugh Jackman, who was very, very kind. And we did one other show, Chicago as well, with stage dooring, and they were very lovely as well. So no, stage dooring is back in business. It's a really exciting time to be in New York.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting. But yes, he was so lovely. It was so nice to see him. Go ahead, sorry.
I learned from this event that Liz is Team Jean Valjean, whereas I am Team Phantom. So
okay, no, that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah,
I did like his Jean Valjean quite a bit.
His cover of Lily's Eyes from whatever performance that was.
Oh yeah.
That's the correct answer. That's the correct answer. Yes, I fully agree with that. Yes, so we saw Taylor a week ago. Very exciting. I can't even speak about it, so let's just move on. Dylan O'Brien, we almost passed out, honestly. It was great. One cute bit that we didn't quite get on video that happened was when they were leaving, we saw Sadie get into her car, and we were all on the other side of the road, like waving and going like, bye Sadie. And her windows were tinted in the car, and the car was going really slowly. So we couldn't figure out why the car was going so slowly. But then it's because we realized she was probably trying to like wave back at us and didn't realize we couldn't see her. Because then all of a sudden her hand like lurched against the window, like very jarringly, and slid down very slowly as the car was driving away. And it was very scary and very like Stranger Things like, but it was very sweet. So obviously she just didn't realize that we could see her. So that was very fun. That's all I'm going to say about that, because every time I think about it, I want to cry. And then this is where the Broadway stuff gets fun again. On Tony Sunday, I went outside of the rehearsals and was waving to people, seeing people go in and out. And then I did the red carpet, and then I did after the show, seeing people come out. So I saw all the Tony stars. Mr. Jonathan Groff was looking freaking fantastic. I don't know what he does. I don't know what his skincare routine is, but I would like to have it. Even in this 1 pixel quality, like he shines. He was like glowing. Whatever he did that morning, I would like the routine. Thank you so much. Aaron also literally glows. I cannot explain. I was so far from him. This photo is like better than what my eyesight was giving me when I saw him. And even from that far away, I was like, sir, you are beautiful. And I was so happy to just see a glimpse of him, because he was on my list of people that I hadn't seen that week. So yes, wonderful. So smiley, so lovely. And then this is Jessica Chastain in the middle here with the red hair. And then right to her right, you can see Andrew Garfield. Also some promo, I guess, for Flemington Department Store event carpet. So you're welcome for the free airtime. But what's funny about this photo is that I was so hyper fixated on seeing Andrew Garfield that I did not realize that Jessica Chastain was even there. And like, I went back to my room. I went back to my room to watch the Tonys. We weren't that far from Radio City. And I'm watching. I'm like, man, I didn't even see Jessica on the carpet. Like, I can't believe I didn't see her. I love her. I'm a huge fan of hers. And I'm watching my videos back, and I'm like, oh, that's her right there. Like, she is right there. I did, in fact, see her. I just was hyper focused on Mr. Garfield. So yes, Andrew Garfield did not wave. He did not acknowledge. The whole street was screaming for him, and he just beelined the opposite direction. He is very much not into that kind of thing. So if you do ever see Andrew Garfield in the flesh, do not fangirl over him. He's not into it. This is Lynn waving to us as he went in. If you zoom in, I don't think you can if you're watching on YouTube, but his eyes are like literally this big, and he like waved very like startlingly. But it was very nice that he waved at all, because like no one else did. And I didn't see this in the flesh, but I just had to bring it up. The meme of the century was born at the Tonys this year. I'm never gonna get over that. I don't know about anyone else. I feel like this is everything. Did we post it on our stories? Is that the meme for this week?
No, it was for Thirsty Thursday.
Right on. I knew it was for something. And then Samuel L. Jackson's in the top of this pic, kind of coming out of the door. Saw him very briefly. And there's the only photo I have of Andrew Garfield in which you can make out none of his face, but I swear to God it's him. And then my highlight of the Tonys is actually a very quick video that I don't know if any of you have seen, because I've been trying to keep it a secret, but I might have sent it in the group chat. I don't remember. So here's my highlight of the Tonys weekend.
You look beautiful. You look stunning.
That's Miss Cynthia Uribo, who walked right by us, and that was me screaming at her, and she goes, "Thank you," and she walked away. And then I didn't catch it on video, but I stopped filming, and the wind came just like in a Disney movie, and her dress just kind of fluttered right before she got in the car, and it was like the world moves around her. Truly, like, yeah, I don't know how she does it. So beautiful, so stunning. She also went into rehearsal with like these lime green glasses, which I felt like were a Wicked reference, but they can't have been a Wicked reference. But I took it as a Wicked Easter egg for sure. And that was my all my lights are turning off here. That was my weekend at the Tonys. It was a lot of fun. The whole time I was there, I was like thinking about the show and thinking about all of you and thinking about how much everyone loves Broadway. So it was very fun to like go do a little bit of it, since I literally never get to go, and we don't like have that happen where I live. Yeah, I wish I could have gone inside. That was the only downfall, but c'est la vie. Marissa's like frothing at the mouth and ready to strangle me through the camera, I think. Not jealous at all.
No, absolutely not. I am not bitter that I had to graduate college in the middle of the Tony ceremony. Absolutely not.
Also, I don't know what y'all are on about in the comments, because literally every single production is stage joined right now. So if you're in New York, you're not going to get in trouble at all. And the actors are insisting on it. So just saying, if you're in New York, I would give it a shot. We had a great time doing it. And with that, The only other exciting thing that happened, there's a lot of exciting things that happened, but was we went to Seth Meyers and we went to Stephen Colbert. And I feel like that is a story I'm going to save maybe for the end of the show because I want to talk about Miss Marvel. If you have not seen Miss Marvel, this is your spoiler warning. Get out of here and come back at the end of the show in about 45 minutes where we will, recap and talk about all the other things, like what's been flying under the radar while we've all been offline this week. I don't know who has something to contribute to that. Maybe Marissa and Alexis do, because Sly and I think have not been consuming anything.
I've got great recs.
You have great recs for the end of the show? Perfect.
Yes.
So let's talk about Miss Marvel. Before we jump into episode 2 and recap episode 2 for y'all, why don't we talk a little bit about episode 1?
Well, Elizabeth, we did that last week, so...
Will you indulge me if
Some
I
of
give you
us already talked about episode 1.
Some of y'all already have been there. Well, I would like to share my thoughts on episode 1. I watched it all in one sitting. Thank you so much for all of the lovely gifts being sent on TikTok from Matt Murdoch 646. Really appreciate it. We got some pride flags, got some mics, super cute. Love. Episode 1 thoughts. I just want to jump on some of the points y'all made last week because you're brilliant and smart. And I was like screaming yes while I was watching you talk about this. Marissa, you said at one point, this show knows it's a show and it's utilizing it appropriately. Is this the first Marvel show that actually understands how to be written for TV?
Excuse me, don't
WandaVision.
besmirch the name of WandaVision in my house.
Okay.
But besides that, no.
But besides that, like the shows written about women seem to understand their medium. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I thought that was a brilliant line that you said because like Miss Marvel feels so much like an actual TV show that I would want to tune into every week as opposed to like all the other series that felt like mini series or like I don't know.
Understand your point, but arguably Hawkeye was a Kate Bishop show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
highly
written like a
arguably.
movie.
I think more the point is shows that are being run by the people they're representing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yep. And I also want to call out one of the writers on this show, Ali K. Bisha, who was a writer on Loki, who's contributing to this show. I was looking at her IMDb, and she contributed to Sex Education. And I'm like, perhaps that is why the humor is working for me on this show. I can see just little twinges of that like political humor making its way into the phrasing. So it's kind of cool to have that kind of modern angle coming into the script and having it feel like less like Falcon and the Winter Soldier I loved, but it was so Marvel at its core, like Marvel structure and Marvel language and Marvel. And I felt that way about Moon Knight as well. Like it felt so Marvel centric, where this is like so fun and light. It actually does feel like TV with the superhero angle to it, which is super cool. You guys already talked about all this last week, but I agree with you completely. And Marissa, last week you also raised the point about She-Hulk, and you think She-Hulk is going to be similar to this, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
I'm excited to see like is it really just the shows that are centering around women that know how to tell like a story in this kind of structure, or is it a coincidence? We shall see. We shall see. But there's a lot of other points that y'all raised that I think were so smart, like Sly. You said when you're telling a generalized story, there's no details grounding you to draw you in, and like that's something the show's doing so well with the specificity. Going back to the meme of last week of Marissa saying specific every other word, I completely agree with that as well. And like episode 2 is such a cool example of that. But I also want to break open the debate about the Scott Lang podcast, which Alexis was really, I'm team Alexis on this one because I had a different interpretation than everything y'all said last week, but it was more aligned with what Alexis was talking about. I heard the line about Scott Lang's podcast as Scott's doing a press tour. Not Scott was on one podcast, or not Scott owns his own podcast. I think he's literally just going on he's accepting every invite that's being sent his way. Like Scott Lang's on the Logan Paul podcast. Like Scott Lang's on our show. Scott Lang's on like, everything. The View. He's doing it all.
Joe Rogan.
No. My man would never do that to me.
Okay. I think that and this was a point that was made to me. Like this would have been a really cool way to plug like fan shows. Like why didn't they show like fans at AvengerCon, or like fan run podcasts, like an only murders in the building style, like Avengers Unpacking thing that Scott Lang's like invited to. Like, why was it just like this ambiguous statement that was made? Like, that could be such a cool piece of fan culture, especially where they already have like YouTube in the show via her Sloth, what is it?
Sloth Baby
Productions. Like, there was so much room to go into Marvel creators with this show, and I was like, oh, that'd be such a cool way to lean in. Like, is she like going on TikTok and seeing Scott Lang do like TikTok dances with like the ants or something? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of room to play with this, and I hope they do more of it.
Are you telling me that Andrew has his own TikTok?
That who has their own TikTok?
Are you telling me that the ants have their own TikTok?
I think they should. I think the ants should have their own TikTok run and managed by Pim.
My entire life just changed.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah,
imagine?
I am actively imagining.
I would love to see it. Sly, what were you saying?
I was just saying, why make a This American Life ripoff podcast when you could use that spot to highlight the people who are making content around your product, right? Like, pay a one-time fee, use the logo of
use
like,
Geeks of the Week
a big fan.
Yeah. Use our show. Hello. You can call us. We're open for business. I'm here for it. I think like there's so many cool ways they could have like involved fan culture more and like taken literal fan culture and put it in the show. Like, I would have loved to have seen some real cosplayers from TikTok, like real people that we would recognize as cosplayers that get invited to the carpets in the convention. But we didn't see that. It felt like a missed opportunity to me.
I think it's also interesting because we know from press that the show was in production when WandaVision was coming out. So it was like kind of referencing fandom in a way that it doesn't exist anymore. Not in a bad way, but like the way that fans interact with Marvel content has evolved so much since WandaVision, especially on TikTok, that like it's interesting to think about where their references were coming from, considering they were in production while WandaVision was airing.
That's interesting. That like opens up such an existential train of thought about how much fan culture has changed because of the pandemic, and like, will it ever revert back? But like, we don't have time for that. We don't have time for that discussion tonight. So how about instead
finish your episode 1 notes?
No, I was gonna say, why don't we just go right into episode 2? Because the rest of what I want to say, I feel like I can build right into episode 2. So let's go into our rowdy recap section of the show, which is a brainchild from Alexis, where we are going to try and recap episode 2 as quickly as we possibly can. Do we want to do like 10 seconds a person?
We usually do 20.
20 seconds a person?
And we try to get through how I remember it. This could be wrong. Was the first person starts and they get through as much as they could, and then the next person does the next chunk. We try to do the whole episode between all of us.
I love it. I'm not sure I remember the very first thing that happens in the episode though. So would anybody else want to go first? That feels like they have a strong hold.
God, no. We were talking about doing this earlier and I was like, I have to think through what happened. And I did not
happened
do
in this
that.
episode? My brain is so scattered because I watched it all in one sitting. It's okay. Let's just go for it. Unless Alexis wants to start, because you also just watched it today.
If I'm allowed to kind of look at my notes, I can start.
Okay, yeah, look at your notes.
Yeah,
You get us started strong, and I will end. How's that sound? Sure. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so the episode started with more people pronouncing Kamala's name wrong, and then she had an argument with the couple that wear AirPods that are like, necking in front of her locker. And then they walked in on Girly Twirly talking about being rescued at the con, and we got Nightlight.
She has 1 million followers, and she decided that Kamala's name is now Nightlight. And I think honestly Zoe is very cool. I'm sorry to the haters. I know she's not a nice person, but she has great style. Then Nakia had a conversation, I think.
Okay, then we get the bad training montage, which we'll talk about later. I loved it. With the whole like Bengal knocking apart of you, right? And then we got Nakia talking about running for the board or whatever for the mosque. And then we get the awesome parent moment. And then we get the party with the shirtless pool moment. And then
Oh my god, you left
Brian.
the whole episode for me to recap from in 10 seconds. Okay, there's a party. The guy is introduced. They're in a car. He gets her number. They go to school. Eid happens. Festival. You see all the people at the festival. And then she's running for mosque council. And then the guy falls from the clock tower and he stole all the shoes, but Kamala saves him.
Nailed it.
Woo!
Y'all literally went into I'm like, we're only like 10 minutes into the episode. Like, it's getting too big.
Alexis gave so much detail, and then I felt like I had to continue giving so much
Don't
detail.
blame this on Alexis. Alexis
I
had
saw it
notes.
slowly going down.
I tried to bring it back.
You did. You
did.
really did. We'll work on it for
Really
next
hard on
week
that
too.
one.
No, I feel like that's a good overview though. And there's some pieces of that we're going to dig more into. But before we do, why don't we start with our new segment, which is very in theme of throwing the after party. A toast. Shall we?
Salute.
A toast?
Liz
Sly?
and Alexis are flipped, and it was throwing me off. I'm
Oh
myself.
man, we are.
Oh, yeah. 'cause
Thank
it
you.
was
I
by my husband,
hate
yeah.
when it's flipped. There we go. Sly's like, I won't toast unless my wife is beside me. And I respect that. Cheers to
Right?
being set beside your wife.
Side.
Okay, if you have a drink and raise it with us, we're gonna do a round of toasts to this episode. Alexis, you're first in the notes, but do you want someone else to start?
Can I
Yeah.
start? Because mine's the most
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Please.
Go.
Okay. I want to give a toast to the mashallah moment. A toast to God willing, attractive people in your vicinity. We love to see it.
Cheers.
Toast.
Marissa?
I would like to give a toast to Nakia's shoes. Just throughout the whole episode, she's got some great, like, chunky, sizable heeled boots that she's wearing in school, which, like, more power to her. Oh my god. And then obviously, you know, the mosque shoe thief. Those are also some incredible shoes. So just a toast to Nakia's shoes.
Yeah. Toast
Love
to
it.
his shoes. Salute.
I would like to give a toast to. I just read my WTF moment of the week, and I'm like, I'm not giving a toast to that. Hold on, let me like back it up. I would also like to give a toast to Nakia, but specifically appointing a woman to be her campaign manager for her run in Mosque Council. And I put a lot of things on the list, but I'm going to pare it down here. And always knowing that, or not always knowing, but always having both a tampon or pad available for the bestie in the bathroom. I love the inclusivity of feminine hygiene. Cheers. Or menstrual hygiene, I should say. Alexis.
I would like to toast to white boys trying real hard. I mean, that friend has like learned Urdu. He's like trying to match his colors. I mean, he is really working his ass off. I think we need to toast to that. And I think we need to toast to hot boys being really good at the grift.
I do love Bruno, I should say. I think he's
Ryan, my beloved.
Oh, Brian.
very endearing, I think.
I would like to highlight in my notes. I literally wrote, God, I love Bruno. And then the Brian moment happened, and I scratched out Bruno and put Brian.
I literally wrote, "Aw, Brian."
He's trying so hard. He really is.
My problem was when he said Brian, I was like, oh yeah. And then it took me a minute, and I was like, wait, what's the problem? And then it took me till the next thing to be like, oh wait. Whoopsie. I was like, yes, Brian, absolutely. No, that was not the man's name. My apologies to you, Bruno, Brian Bruno. Okay, now that we've given a toast to some of what we loved about this week, let's do our WTF moment of the week. Alexis, I do want to hear yours first this time because I'm excited to see where you go with this. What was your WTF moment from this episode?
It's a good one. It's mint with joy. But the Illuminatis are my favorite thing that have ever happened. I'm like, literally, I want like a Miss Marvel movie that's narrated by the Illuminatis the way that Ant-Man's friends narrated the Ant-Man film. Like, I need that movie. I would watch that series. I really would. So, and what a great name for them. The whole thing was just.
I feel like they can't introduce something that strong and like drop it after this episode.
Yeah.
Like,
please, like, give me that. I will read that comic. Like, you could give that to me in any media, and I will consume whatever it is.
That would be a really good comic. And
I
every
feel
auntie's story is different.
Yeah, and I feel like
They're telling the same
narration,
story,
right,
but
would
it's
be
like
so
totally different
fascinating.
details.
It reminds
Yeah.
me of that bit in The Heights where he's like in the salon and the rumor has changed like 16 times, right? It's like that type of vibe. I love that.
Yeah.
I also like think that because they've actually introduced the Illuminati now to the MCU, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's out there now. Like, because they've actually introduced it and now they're referencing the Illuminatis. Like, I don't know in what multiverse like those two things are the same, but or like they have conflict or crossover, but there has to be now. Like,
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I'm thinking like if we don't get a what if episode about it, like what's the point? What's the point?
Oh, that's so good. I loved that whole scene. I thought that whole scene was so clever, and it reminded me of like my own experiences in, church, or really like any, area where you're with like the same people all the time. You do group them, right? Like, or like different groups of people. So I just thought the whole thing was clever.
And let's throw up this comment from the chat about how that
Yes, totally was the cafeteria scene. Yeah.
So good.
Even the way like the camera was cutting, like the styling of it felt similar, which was cool. Yeah. All right. Sly. On a completely different angle. I want to go from one range all the way to the other. Give us your WTF moment of the week, bestie.
My WTF moment of the week was, why are you, as a government organization, interrogating a minor without an advocate there? Like, I don't know what the laws are in New Jersey, but I think in Washington they just passed like you have to, before you talk to a minor, you have to let them talk to like an attorney or whatever. So like the fact that you have a minor and you're interrogating her about this event and there's no like talk of like a juvenile advocate at all in this, I'm like, WTF are you doing here, friends? Excuse you, that is a child in the eyes of the law.
Did they explain how she got there also?
No, it's just a hard cut.
Because I had like many questions about the logistics of her getting there, like, and then the way that they started the conversation with her being about like her being an influencer. I'm like, was it a trap? Was she trapped? Was she taken against her will? Like,
I thought like it was really interesting to see your all's notes about it, because my notes were like, damn, that's a smooth interrogation.
That was my note too.
Rabia Chaudhry has a job, damn it. Like, I was very, anyway.
No, my note too. My note also was, oh, he's good.
Yeah, like that was well done. And usually interrogation scenes to me, like, in crime dramas, they're like, oh, that's a good interrogator. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, that's like, why didn't anyone give them anything in that interrogation? But that one, it was bad. It was very bad. Everything was legal in New Jersey, but it was bad. But it was a very smooth interrogation.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's perfect.
Bad people, good at their job.
Yeah.
Especially after the whole Agent Carter not giving us one good interrogation. Like, I don't think there was one good interrogation on that show. Was there? Not that I can recall.
They were all very bad.
They were all bad. So it's nice to see Marvel do it right. Marissa.
Okay. I have two. My first one is directed to myself, because I think it's Kamala who opens the freezer for like a split second. And I could tell from about 2 inches of a carton of ice cream what brand and what flavor it was. I saw about 2 inches of the carton of ice cream in a shelf for like, I don't know, 3 seconds. And I was like, oh, that's Jenny's Brambleberry Crisp, because that's the ice cream I eat. I was like, great. And then my second one is that also directed to myself, sort of. After watching this episode, like I said, I read a lot of the Ms. Marvel comics, and I had a WTF moment when I finally learned who Kamran is. So maybe we can talk about that later when we talk about him being introduced in the episode, because I was very confused why he was doing so much, why that actor was doing so much press one-on-one with Iman. I was like, he's just a hot guy. Like, why is he like doing lead actor press? And then I figured it out. So that'll be coming later.
As someone that knows nothing about that character, I'm very excited to hear you all discuss it. I will say I just, as you were saying that, realized my true WTF moment of the week, which is, do we finally have himbo representation via Miss Marvel? Because that man with the basketball in the opening segments of the hallway scenes.
No, he's not respectful.
Is he not respectful? She
No.
got that ball. He was like, good for you. No?
But isn't he the guy that gives her a spiked drink at the party?
Is it? Tea.
I think so.
Oh, never mind then. Not a him. Anyway, I think this is a great show to see some himbo representation. I'm not seeing it. So I'd like a himbo. Marvel, if it's not too late to edit one in.
Love and Thunder is coming. Be patient.
I know. I can't. I want it now. I would like a himbo in this movie. My WTF moment of the week is realizing that after all of our rightful complaints around the writing of women in the MCU, we're finally seeing some decent writing of women. We're seeing women at all ages of life. We're seeing women in various roles and power dynamics. We're so far beyond passing the Bechdel test at this point. It's hopeful. It's hopeful. And it also means now that we know they can do this, right? And it doesn't happen without advocacy on the back end for this kind of representation in writing. And that's something that in the production brief, which we now have for Ms. Marvel that's come out, the writer that we referenced earlier, Allie, talks about how when she was working on Loki, she was advocating as one of, if not the only Pakistani woman writer in the writer's room for Loki and throughout Marvel Studios, that she would love to be put on the Ms. Marvel project to add her lens and voice to the project. So like a big shout out to everyone behind the scenes who had to advocate for this to happen because it's having such a positive impact on the show. But it kind of left me saying, what the fuck? So I'm like, okay, put them in every writer's room for Marvel moving forward. Like, imagine the stories we could get from Phase 4 if you had these women leading writers' rooms for all of your projects and not just the ones about women. Imagine the glorious things that could happen. So I now am a bit more cautiously optimistic that Marvel knows what they're doing when it comes to stacking some writers' rooms and understanding where to strategically put people to write good stories. It's not perfect. It's so far from perfect, but it's a little bit better, and that makes me a little bit happy. Specifically, a moment that I think really like caught me was when you're seeing like the text between Kamala and what's his name? What's his name? Sorry, Cameron? Is that
Kamran, yeah.
Kamran. And you're seeing her joy about those texts. And it wasn't so cliche that it felt like unrelatable, because sometimes you see women directed in those types of moments and it's like, who reacts like that? Like that's not it. That's not the right energy. But it felt so true to how a teenage girl would react to that kind of moment. And it just made me smile, like kind of like what you were saying, Marissa. Like I was just smiling. I was like, wow, this actually feels like someone understood what it's like to be a teenage girl in this moment and like what that moment can mean for you. So that was like, what the fuck, but in like Alexis, in a joyous way. Like, wow, okay, raise the bar for yourself, Marvel, and then we can now call you on it when you don't meet it.
Bare minimum.
But we, as a show that constantly asks for more, I think it is important to acknowledge when some things are going somewhat well.
Yes.
So it's what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting to see complex women, and we're getting them, which is kind of nice. Okay, let's talk about, we have a couple different themes from this episode that we want to pull. Where would we like to start? Do we want to talk about feminism first?
We can keep the train moving.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about feminism. We're getting some well-written women, which is very exciting. There is some interesting lenses of feminism in episode 2 that I thought were so cool, particularly with Nakia and her run for mosque council. It's like, I'm gonna be the young woman taking on the establishment and taking on like the culture and raising some hell. And she's got this like beautiful graphic design and these buttons, and like she knows her shit and she knows how to talk to people. I'm like, wow, what a cool take on like the advocacy that young women, especially women of color, lead in their own communities. Like, that's, to me, that felt so monumental to see recognized in Marvel, like, because that is the truth of what's happening in high schools, like across America and across the world, I think. So I was like, yeah. I was so happy for her. And then she's got the cool boots on, and she's like molding the carpets, and there's all these things we can fix them. Like, you tell them. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, Nakia, this whole episode, like probably half my notes from episode 1 were like, where's Nakia? Nakia's underused. There's too much Bruno. Give me more Nakia. And they listened. They read my Google Doc and they listened, and they were like, you want Nakia? You can have her. She's just so cool. And I mean, it's really fun to see her brought to life on screen.
I really enjoyed. Sorry.
No, I think I was going to transition right to what you're about to say, so go for it.
I really enjoyed how they did the scene with Nakia talking about her putting on a headscarf as part of her observing hijab, and the way that was referenced and talked about. There's this huge conversation surrounding the idea of what is culture and what is faith, especially within like Muslim dominant communities. Like, so many things that are culture are viewed as aspects of religion when those are, very separate. And just because something is ingrained in the culture doesn't mean it's part of observing faith. And so the way they handled that conversation, I thought, was really beautifully done. And Nakia talking about how, like, yeah, maybe she felt pressure to wear hijab at first, but then recognizing it as a source of empowerment, and that being a way for her to connect and express herself. And the idea of like so many talks about like religion as oppressive or whatever, and when most people would say like religion is empowerment, especially for minority genders, that you can find so much empowerment in these spaces. And so I just thought like the way they handled that scene was really beautiful and so well done.
Yeah.
The way they're handling her whole character, like every aspect of her this episode, I felt like was so finely tuned, if that makes sense. Like, it was very thoughtful.
Specific, one might even say.
Okay. Cheers if you were waiting on your bingo card.
Yeah. The choices on the show are just very specific.
They are.
Thoughtful.
Let's, I feel like we could literally talk about feminism all night. I'm going to turn down my gain just a teeny bit and see if that helps, because I think I'm getting some echo. Is that better? Is that worse? Is that better?
Talk a little bit louder.
Is that better or worse? Or worse?
Yeah, much better.
Or better? Better? Okay, keep it there. Let's talk about the MCU. Because we got some sprinklings of Phase 4. We got some sprinklings of the MCU. Actually, we got many through AvengerCon last week, but we got more this week. Kingo was referenced and brought up. It is now one of the memes I'm seeing all over TikTok. Who wants to take that one?
I forget that he's like a real character that exists outside of Eternals that like people know about.
He's a whole family.
In the MCU.
he's like generational Bollywood
generations
actor.
or something. Yeah.
God, I love Eternals.
I loved the bit where they talked about, oh, well, like mine thinks that Senior is like hotter than like the current Kingo or whatever. I was like, that is so deep. I love it. It was so good. And I also love like I hope that we see more of like those kinds of callbacks like throughout the new Marvel projects, like about like who is watching who, like how are we gonna see Moon Knight brought into this? Like to me, there should be some kind of headline on the news about like Egyptian gods just showing up in Egypt and like brawling, right? Like that should be an international headline. Like the Eternals thing, we know is an international headline. So like, is it gonna be on her TV at some point? I don't know. Okay, DODC.
The Department of Damage Control.
Yeah.
They're doing stuff. They're making moves.
Yeah. They're making choices.
What are those choices they're making?
Bad ones.
I love how thorough we get in these conversations. Like we really just like go so deep.
So I don't want to go too deep on this, and I think I'm going to, so you're going to have to pull me out of the weeds. But I think one of the things that is really interesting, especially when we get to like the interrogation scene, is this quickness to ethnically and culturally profile, because really where that comes from in the US as it is now was an inappropriate fear reaction to terrorism from certain nations, right? But most of our superheroes in the MCU are white. So if we're really going to start profiling anyone for being a superhero or for causing superhero related crime, we need to be profiling white gym bros, because really that's what they all look like. And so I thought it was a very tricky choice for Marvel to say, oh, we're profiling we're profiling the superhero like a terrorist, when really, if we're looking at the terrorism that has happened in the MCU, it's been by aliens. Like legitimate aliens from space. So I think there's a lot to unpack there as to why they made that choice, and what they were trying to gain from that. I thought that was an interesting approach.
I don't think that's a fair assessment of how they were approaching this, because when we're looking at the like culture of the MCU in regards to our own, they really have like this moment that is the Battle of New York that really is referenced like how America references 9/11, right? And so like the idea there is the aliens, right? It's not the white guys that are like the terrorists moment. It's the aliens. So they're profiling her because of the power aspect, I think. There's also that, cultural, they're trying to figure out, the other possible aspect to it. But to me, it felt more like they were profiling based on the more like alienness of the event than who she was as a person.
I think that there was like some specific language used though, to Alexis' point about how they make a specific point to say, oh, well, the FBI is already watching like every single mosque and community center. I think it was the language where they had 2 points of reference that the FBI is already closely watching all those places. So like we can't step on any toes. And I also read that in the same context that Alexis did of like, oh, so they are trying to make a point about like profiling Middle Eastern Americans or Middle Eastern communities within America.
I also think it's like a question of why they're having such a severe reaction. In comparison to Peter Parker, because the only other example of damage control has been in the Spider-Man movies so far, at least as much as I'm remembering. So
there's an inference to the existence of damage control in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we don't really see them. So I just wanted to check that on. Sorry.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like theoretically video proof of Peter Parker yeeting someone, whereas Kamala saved Zoe. Like, so I do think it's the scale of the reaction too, of like going after her with drones feels a little much to me. And it it makes me wonder, like, why is that the reaction? Because I also, to Alexis's point, like, we don't see any of the other, like, enhanced people being, profiled or even detained for, like, the damage they might do. So I do think it is an interesting conversation that they're starting with this, where, like, it is not only Kamala versus her powers and, like, getting in control of her powers, but it is also, like, the system that is restricting her powers, if you will.
One of the things that stood out to me as well was that there was a 2006 ongoing issue with mosque surveillance by the FBI in California, which is still being tried in the Supreme Court. That happened in 2006, where they sent an alleged convert into the mosque to entrap and incriminate young men that were there. And so I think the language felt like they needed, like, unless they were making some sort of intentional point about the universe that we were in, everything about it felt a little outdated in ways that this show hasn't. And when they're so tiptoey about, like, Marvel as a franchise is very tiptoey about what they want to do and what they want their commentary to be, it seemed like a little bit of a bold choice to me that was the commentary that they decided they wanted to go with here.
And they specifically call out in the production brief that, like, they don't want to write. They say, I'm going to pull it up because I don't want to completely butcher this, but they do reference 9/11 and how they say they want to tell this story. In bringing the world of Miss Marvel to life, the filmmakers did not want to fall into the trap of telling a story filled with cliches about growing up a Muslim American in a post-9/11 America. We wanted to tell a distinct story about a young girl's experience, but tell it through the lens of someone who happened to be South Asian and happened to be Muslim. It's really about a young woman coming of age and what empowerment means to her, as opposed to the traditional norms she has been taught of what strength and beauty look like. So it's interesting that they make a point to say that in the production brief, but then have this kind of moment where, like, we're even having a discussion and have been inferring ourselves around, like, what kind of political climate are they trying to ground this in?
Yeah, I just it's not clear. It's the woman specifically. The language that they gave her just rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't understand why. I don't understand if it's, like, an intentional choice to, like, make us feel uncomfortable, if they're trying to be, like, flagging these are bad people, these are not, like, not good, whatever, or if it's just, like, I don't know.
Hopefully it's something that develops more over the coming episodes and we get maybe a bit of a clearer picture of these, of, like, what the intention is, or, like, what's the bigger game they're playing. Because certainly not clear. And I feel like also something that perhaps is a mistake that was made in the editing room. Like, maybe there was a bit more context in those scenes from this episode that they decided to scrap and then go with what we saw. That actually would have been more beneficial if they had left in. I found that with the last episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi I watched, which is not the most recent one, but the one prior. I was like, oh, they definitely cut out some scenes that we absolutely needed to understand some of the stakes here, but it's fine. We can leave that for another discussion. For the sake of time, let's keep it moving. There was some referencing to Endgame, Hawkeye. Yes, the Nat Clint callback with the holding the hands and you have to let me go thing was quite funny.
There were a few Nat references. There were, like, quite a few. That one in particular was, like, a self-referential, like, nod to the fans in a way that is just fun. It's just, like, this show really understands who it's talking to. But we also got, I think it was in the training montage, maybe it was when it might have been when she lands at the end. We got a Nat pose landing.
Oh, that was wasn't it when she jumped back onto the mosque?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
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 I love it. I love it. And there was a shirt.
Yep.
I have questions about the shirt, but there was a shirt. Yeah.
I missed the shirt completely. So fill me in.
She's in the bathroom and she has a shirt on under her jacket that has the early Natasha, like the Natasha she was drawn in the Black Widow Daredevil comics. It's the hair Brubaker brought back, but she has like the bang and the big bouffant, and it's like really bright red, and she's in a blue suit. And I have a shirt with that same reference on it, but I have a shirt with a reference on it because I have Black Widow comics that were Black Widow and Daredevil from the 60s and 70s. So I found it interesting in this world that would be a shirt that she wore, because it's not the image of the Natasha that we have seen in the MCU. So I think it raises some questions about, like, are those Natasha comics still canon in the MCU? Is it another character? Is it some sort of, statement about what, Natasha's aging or lack of aging? Like, is that some sort of conversation on some sort of conspiracy subreddit, like what is happening for that to be the image that she ended up with? I thought that was fascinating.
Marvel comics existing in the MCU gives me a headache in general. I just want to call that out. That's like a mind fuck loop that I constantly get stuck in.
We know Captain America comics exist in the MCU because they are in First Avenger. But also on this point about like fan items, I tried to move on with the just let a woman live. Like, I accepted what everyone knows about Carol Danvers within the MCU. That was fine. When did she pose for that poster? Because that's just a picture of Brie Larson. That's not a drawing. That's literally just a promotional poster from Captain Marvel of Brie Larson. And I just want to know when Carol Danvers posed for that poster. That's it.
I want to know where I can get Kamala's jacket. That is the flight jacket from Captain Marvel. Because I want that jacket.
I don't understand how they have... Like, I could understand if it was like what any of the 6 from the Avengers, like the first Avengers movie, like Hulk merch, Steve Rogers merch, like I would get it. But Carol Danvers is so interesting because she's not like of Earth, could you say? Like, she is, but she isn't. And has she been on Earth long enough as Captain Marvel with enough photographic evidence of her being on Earth to justify the hyper-specific merch and imagery they have of her? Like, did she come back to do a press tour and then she left again? Because she didn't put that in her video at the beginning of episode 1. If she did do that, like, that would be an important piece of information I'd like to have.
I mean, I accepted that Kamala is just a super fan and did a really deep dive and found out everything she could. The poster is just the one thing where I'm like, where did you get that picture?
Like, okay, hold on. I'm just going to take back everything I said, because now I'm remembering that when Harry Styles wore a t-shirt under a jacket in 2012, people found it and recreated it so quickly and sold it at like every teen girl store in the world that said hipster please on it. So of course they would be able to perfectly replicate a Captain Marvel jacket based out of nothing, because I've literally seen them do that with less. So I retract my earlier statement. Yes, of course it's possible. Yeah, I've seen it. Okay, confirmed. This is what JJ's saying. The fan editors and Etsy artists are just that good.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, let's keep it moving because we still have quite a bit of Miss Marvel to talk through. Okay, time for OSHA Corner. I have no plumbing critiques to give this episode. I thought the mosque plumbing seemed to be working just fine. No,
it was not. There was one faucet running.
They were really trying to get that review done, and they could not.
Okay, so we have a broken plumbing situation then in the mosque. I wasn't going to criticize it, but now that we're open to critiques, seems like there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in the mosque in terms of like mold, plumbing. So, like, let's just add plumbing to that list. Otherwise, it seemed like the school bathroom was working just fine as well. So no additional plumbing critiques from me. I think I'm good. Sly.
Yeah, so obviously mold is a pretty big concern. I was going to address the window issue, how there wasn't a barrier, but I was thinking about it and I was like, that's not necessarily an OSHA concern. That's more of a building code concern, which is a whole other department. So we won't get into that here. But
We don't
the
get into
mold-
building codes on this show. We'll talk about plumbing.
About international building code. But yes, the mold, very big issue here. The broken tiles, that's an occupational hazard. And yes, the broken faucets in the mosque are also definitely an OSHA concern here. So yeah, that's the OSHA corner.
I have to say now would be a good time for that. Those people that give you the fire hydrants, you get the fire hydrants from, when we talked about their sponsorship, this corner would be a good time.
Yes.
I have no idea.
You-
what
you're
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 talking
company
company,
with your
you get
sweatshirts.
free advertising too.
And you bought the fire hydrants. There's a company.
Oh, we haven't bought those. Those were all gifted.
Okay, well that you were
Um,
gifted the fire hydrants.
We're not.
I
We're
love
not
that
giving
that
them any
what it is.
advertising. We're not giving them
okay.
any free advertising. I
But
did
this
a
would be
whole
the
show
segment
where
for
I was
them
a
to
corporate-
sponsor.
Corn Maine, if you want to pay us, we will contribute to OSHA Quarter moving forward. But you got to pay us for it. I'm sorry.
All right, we will send them this episode. That's our pitch. We have a whole segment. Alexis, what a great call on your end. I'm so glad you caught that. Thank you, bestie. And I want to throw it back to you, Alexis, because one of your specialties on this show is critiquing fighting. And we saw, as Sly has dubbed it, a bad training montage of the week, where we saw, I should say, it's her getting used to her power. So we weren't expecting, like high class training in this scenario. But as our designated person who actually could critique this, do you have any thoughts surrounding the training montage that we saw? Any suggestions you would throw in? Any moves you think we should try out?
I think the important part of this training montage is that she doesn't need physical strength. Unlike everyone else on this show, I hate a training montage. I don't think, other than Sam Wilson, I don't think I've ever seen a training montage that I've liked ever. So I wasn't going to be a huge training montage fan, but I'm not really sure what training they were going with, but it worked for what it was supposed to do. So.
I wouldn't call it
love
a training montage. I wouldn't call it a training montage. I would call it a coming into your powers montage. She wasn't so much training as she was just figuring out what she can do. Because let's be honest,
I would
she
say
still
the
doesn't really
push-ups
know what
beg
she
to
can do.
differ.
Well,
To me, the entire thing felt like the perfect analogy for being an awkward teenager. Everything about her and that guy trying to figure out how to do shit was yeah, that's exactly
her
how
and that
feels.
guy trying to figure out how to do shit. Put it
It
on
felt
a
like-
t-shirt.
Listen, they're 16. They don't know how to do anything. Let's go to the top of a building and figure out how to make magic powers happen. I was this is perfect for what I would assume from this. Yeah. I loved it. But I loved it in a I loved the show kind of way, not in a formal critique kind of way.
Yeah. It was very in the energy of the
That
show.
is also the scene where we get the wonderful Bruno commentary, also known as that guy.
That
apparently.
guy. Also Brian.
About about how her powers aren't necessarily from the bangle, and the bangle's more channeling or unlocking the powers that she already had within her, which I thought was really interesting and kind of gives us Inhumans vibes,
I know,
but
I'm so
kind of
confused.
totally doesn't. So I'm very interested to see how that goes moving forward with the power compensation.
That's why I went back to the comics, because I was like, huh?
Okay, so you learned a lot from the comics this week, including who our new friend is who likes driving cars. Before we get to the whole car side of this equation, Marissa, walk us through what you've learned about our new friend.
About Kamran?
Yeah,
Or about
I'm trying to give
Kamala.
you a segue to introduce your new segment of the show called.
Oh, I don't think it needs to be a recurring segment.
It
but
might. We don't know that yet.
We just need to have a come run corner for a second.
Thank you. There it is.
I really was so confused why he was getting so much press for just being a random hot guy. He's not a random hot guy.
Again, the thorough analysis on this show amazes me. Yes, he's not just a random Hawkeye. He is quite significant, so it seems, by the end of episode 2. What have we learned about him? What do we know about him? Perhaps, Alexis, would you like to start as our designated Alexis Blake Reads Comics commentator? Who is this man? And I know you had some specific takes on, like, why is this the angle that they pulled from the comics? Like, why is this the version that they've taken into the show?
I think Marissa could probably talk more to it because she's read it more recently. But in the comics, he is also powered, but he is also, trying to get Kamala's attention for somebody else. There's kind of a mob angle. And it just seemed interesting to me. It's always interesting to me when Marvel decides to deviate, like what Marvel decides to deviate from and what Marvel decides to keep. So I find that interesting. I would be fascinated to know why this was like him as kind of a double agent, why that was a plot line that they wanted to stick with. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just like, well, that was a choice. And he was a character I really fell for in the comics, and he was a character I fell for in the show, right? And then I was like, oh shit, you're still the same guy that you were in the comics, because he's good with a grift. But yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on that very specific point before we continue? Who put that note in the show talk?
So, okay, the thing with a grift, right, is, and no one's going to get this reference, and that's okay. But the thing with a grift is that you want to find out what a person's deepest desire is, and you want to find a way to give it to them, right? Or you ask them to smell chloroform. Like, those are your two options, right? So when we're talking about, I think it's interesting to analyze it from that perspective, because really what a teenage girl wants is to be known and to be noticed, right? In this specific case, like, I'm generalizing, but in this specific case, you want to be known, you want to be noticed, and you want to be, like, met halfway, right? You want the guy to care, right? And all that he did from the time that he met her was make sure that she was noticed and known, right? That's what this whole grift is, right? Even down to the line, like, I know what Ami is, right? And, like, we're talking about Bollywood that we both like, right? He very distinctly, and, like, we may find out later that, it was really from his heart, and I really loved you the whole time, but blah, 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 right? But at this moment, that is what he's doing, right? And so there's really no way for her, like, not, or us for that matter, not to fall for it, because he's giving her exactly what she wants, but he's not being obvious about it. And I found that to be an incredibly smooth as butter grift. Anything that she thought would be awkward, like her brother running into them when she's unchaperoned at the coffee shop, like standing on his shirt, needing the getaway car, like, he was there, not making it awkward anytime it would be awkward. And then any other time, he just gave her what her heart desired.
Yeah.
Marissa, do you want to jump off that?
Well, I just want to apologize to anybody who was fooled by him. Because I didn't fully realize what his deal was until I discovered him in the comics. I was like, oh, he's just a helpful guy. He's got a getaway car. Now he knows that she's Ms. Marvel. Oh my God. Well, who's this lady? Still don't know who this lady is. His mom, no idea. That's not in the comics. But it was my what the fuck moment of the week, because I was like, oh, that's who he is, when I read the comics. So it is interesting. It is interesting how early he's being introduced. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I assume he's going to still be powered. I don't know how. I don't know how those powers are going to be explained. If we're getting Inhumans or not, I don't know. But but yeah, I was like excited by him at first. I was like, who is this guy? Oh no, poor Bruno. And then I was like, well, not anymore. Sorry. That
I
made
will
no
say,
sense, but that's
he
my brain.
he got me. Okay,
I know.
I'm watching the show. He got me. But
I
you know what?
know.
There were 2 red flags, and I'm watching with my partner, and he caught them. Okay, the first red flag that came our way was when he's about to jump into the pool, and someone yells out like, "You could die!" I don't know if it was Bruno, if it was just like some random person at the party, but they specifically say like, "Oh, like that's so dangerous, you could die," and then he's like completely fine. I was like, "Does he have powers? Is that why they would throw that line in so intentionally?" But then the second thing was when they're in the cafe and being all cute with the menu, and he reaches for her arm. My partner's like, he's trying to find the bangle on her wrist. And I was like, oh, don't ruin the illusion for me. I'm having so much fun watching them be cute at the cafe. So anyway, shout out to the people that were not fooled, because I was fooled. I was just enjoying the vibes. I was enjoying the flirting. I was like, cute guy with a cool car. Like, I love this for her. Yeah. That's okay. So do we know who his mom is? Because so far, this is all I have to go off of. His mom is one panel in the comics, just sitting in a chair. I don't know why they made her such a big character for the show. Are we missing something here, besties? Is there someone like they could be like pulling inspo from and putting into the mom?
I don't know.
We
also got.
Sorry.
Oh, well, I was
saw
going in a
an
different
article
direction.
that was just is saying that the mom's character's name could be like a roundabout reference to Star, which is Carol Danvers' villain. And so it might be like a rebrand of that person. But I don't think anybody's supposed to know who she is right now.
Yeah.
I will say, my final note on this is that if I don't see a fan edit to those 2 to Getaway Car, I'm going to lose my mind. I need all the TikTok editors to get on this. I would like to see the bridge of Getaway Car. We were jet set, Bonnie and Clyde. Oh, make sure you get that part in. Until I switched to the other side. That's exactly what that last scene is in the car. Besties, so someone with more talent than me, please do your cap cut swivel edits with hearts and stars and shit, and fill my inbox, fill my DMs with it. I'm waiting.
I do want to say we don't have enough information yet. We could all be wrong, and they could be doing like a double like bait and switch. Like, oh, you think he's like the comics? He's not. He's actually a good dude. Like, we don't know yet. So it could be very inconsequential. He's just a guy with a fast car that happened to rescue her.
I don't think
who knows.
So. But who knows?
That wouldn't be interesting.
He's
but
too pretty to be boring.
Very
if
strong.
If there's one thing that Marvel does is they give a good plot line to a hot man. Okay. They make sure their hot men have plots.
Well, and like not super often in media that we get hot Southeast Asian men, or, hot men that, from different ethnicities and cultures. So that's an interesting, point as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on this before we end our episode 2 segment of the show? Are we feeling good about where we're leaving things in the Getaway Car? We're like ready to go into episode 3.
I just really like
my
the
last
show.
thing was the AIM bots.
Oh yeah,
technology that at that end scene that she was being chased by the bots. It looks to me really reminiscent of AIM technology, which is something they haven't really done in the MCU before. I don't believe.
Mm-mm.
I think that's new group for them to introduce. But if that was the vibes I was getting from the drones or whatever, so I'm interested to see what they do with that.
And to me, they looked like the drones from Far From Home. And I was like, are they the confiscated drones that they got from Mysterio / Peter Parker / Happy / whatever that whole No Way Home situation was. So I don't know. Either way, I'm very uncomfortable with them having them.
Yes.
One note I want to end this on is that I don't think we can overlook just how much they're setting up in New York. Like, why are they putting all of these new heroes and bringing all of these heroes to New York City and like the New York area? Because we've had Hawkeye in New York.
It goes in the comics.
No, I know. I just mean in terms of like, what are we setting up to, right? Like, what's going to be this big moment where they all come back together? Because right now they're all in the same city.
Put them in LA.
I know. I
West
knew
Coast
it was coming.
Avengers.
Give it to me.
Like,
I know they're
long-
setting up Young Avengers. I know everything's in New York because comics were, started in New York. I get it, but also give us a little variety.
I'm excited to see like how far can they go before any of these people run into each other, right? Like we know we're getting some crossover in future projects, but like it seems like everybody and their mom's in New York right now. So like when like there's that great meme of like the person that mapped out New York City and like which superhero is on which street. And like Daredevil has like these 6 blocks, and then like this version of Spider-Man has these 2 blocks. I feel like we're getting to that point where like everyone's just got a different section of the map that's theirs.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I hope that we get it announced soon because I'm like anxiously awaiting it now. Yes.
Wait, maybe the theme of the good Disney Plus shows is that they're set in New Jersey. Because WandaVision is in New Jersey and Ms. Marvel is in New Jersey. I think
Hawkeye is back and forth.
You're onto it.
Hawkeye is not in New Jersey.
Yeah, aren't the bros? Because the truck is in the Miss Marvel credits.
There are tracksuit bros in New Jersey, but no, they're not based in New Jersey.
Oh, I thought they went to New Jersey in Hawkeye though. Did they not? I could be wrong.
That's all.
I thought they did. Listen, don't
so.
Shoot me for getting a fact about New Jersey incorrect, Marissa. He said, no, they're not. Okay, that's fine. I could be wrong.
Dare you?
Wrong. I'm also Canadian, so like to me, everything could be anywhere, and I'd be like, excellent. The only reason why I know West Coast Avengers hasn't happened is because I'm not an idiot and I know my East Coast from West Coast. Anyway.
I have no idea what Liz is saying.
She's ending the TikTok.
Okay. Hopefully that gets rid of some of the echo that's happening. Let's talk about our under the radar for this week. Now, I have nothing to contribute because I was under the radar. So can besties fill me in on what I missed over the past week?
Well, it's under the radar, so it's not going to be anything you've heard of.
That's fine. That's fine. Fill me in. What's going on that I should take note of?
Do you want me to go?
Jump in. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, so we got the Persuasion on Netflix trailer. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I'm not going to say anything at all. But instead,
it reiterated to me the fact that I am very unfortunately Mary from Persuasion. And you know what? I'll own that.
Instead of the Netflix Persuasion, I'm going to recommend a web series based on Persuasion that my friends make called Rational Creatures. It's available on YouTube. Season 2 starts soon. It's a modern, queer retelling of Persuasion featuring people of color. It's really good, and my friends made it. Then I'm also going to plug another Friends show called Between the Lines. It's off Broadway. They just started previews, I think. It's based on the book by Jodi Picoult of the same name. It's a new musical, and they released like an EP. It's not a full cast album. It's just a few songs of it. And my friend has a song on it. It's called Allie McAndrews. That is not their character's name. My friend is Ren Rivera. Shout out Ren. And they are a non-binary person of color acting in New York. And I'm just very proud of them. I'm very happy for them. The song is a bop. I listen to it all the time. Ally McAndrews from Between the Lines, the new musical off Broadway at second stages. I'm very excited to see it. Hopefully I'll see it soon. Those are my under the radars.
Maybe you'll plug it on our Instagram story.
Plugging my
find
friends.
it. Maybe you'll post it on our Instagram story so people can go find it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Alexis, the Blonde trailer.
Yeah, Netflix's highly controversial Marilyn Monroe biopic adjacent, which is based on a fictional book by the same name, has gone through 3 actresses for Marilyn Monroe. We're on our 3rd, and has received Netflix's only NC-17 rating, which the director used to start a commentary about America's issues with sex and the irony of that, seeing as we're one of the highest porn producers in the world, which, fascinating take. Doesn't tell me why your movie is NC-17, but okay. But the trailer was released this week, and honestly, it told us nothing about the film. It was maybe 45 seconds, and it was all pieces of Marilyn that we've seen before. So Marilyn with the dress, Marilyn standing in front of the mirror. I think the one thing that the trailer is really kind of playing on is this split personality angle, which is something that has been explored in Marilyn Monroe pieces before, the difference between Norma Jean and Marilyn. But I think the actress has done quite a bit of work on it, and seems to be really invested in it. It looked pretty and spooky. So yeah, who knows? But the trailer dropped this week, and I thought it was interesting.
Does it come out in September?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be very intrigued to see how they much like Pam and Tommy. I feel like we're in for an interesting press tour of very, very carefully worded and placed questions, and even more carefully articulated awkward answers.
Yeah, there was some in the articles that were kind of released around the trailer. There was a lot of commentary about it being kind of a feminist approach to Marilyn, which on spec I find to be interesting. I think Marilyn as a figure has been someone whose story is really complicated to tell, because there's always a fine line between what she was aware of and did intentionally and what was kind of done to her, and the lenses in which people are able to tell those stories. And she's definitely someone who I think has become dehumanized in her evolvement into a sex symbol, right? And so I don't think her story, because of all of those things, is an easy one to tell, especially perhaps when you're approaching it from a strictly feminist angle. And I know Marissa and I have had some very long conversations about the Monroe estate and kind of what they allow, how they allow her to be depicted in media, and which parts of the stories they're allowed to tell. So yes, yeah.
It will be interesting.
Yes, it will be interesting. I'm very excited to unpack this whirlwind we're about to enter with that. And I haven't actually seen the trailer, so I get to go watch it now. Yay, excited. I only saw the Netflix preview that came up on Instagram, and then my Wi-Fi wouldn't load. I didn't get to watch it. I saw the her in the mirror going and I was like, all right.
It's pretty much that for 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's pretty much just that. Yeah.
Great.
You learn nothing about the film in this trailer.
No.
Yeah.
So really, it's not under the radar for me. I got the
vibe.
Yeah.
Literally, yes. Yeah. That's what when I first watched it, I was like, they're just it's just kind of introducing what the vibe is going to be. And Claw saying that it comes out on the same day as Don't Worry, Darling, which I think is interesting, because when I watched it, I was like, oh, so we're getting a lot of complicated, 60s vibe films, in the summer, as those things, typically happen to converge.
I have a confession to make. I was not completely sold on Don't Worry, Darling from everything we were getting. I was like, I wasn't completely sold, and I did see the trailer and was like, I am all in on this.
I think you're talking about My Policeman, because that
No,
trailer.
I'm talking about Don't Worry,
Don't Worry,
Darling.
Darling's trailer came out like a month ago. What are you talking about?
No, I know. Sorry, they just had the poster come out like this past week with like the plane, and it had like a glitch. Like that just came out, and I wasn't sold on the entire thing. Then the trailer came out, and I was all in. And then I saw this poster, and I'm like, I get the vibe now. Truly, what threw me off about the whole thing from the beginning was that Chris Pine was going to be in it. Like that's what made me go like, I don't understand what this movie is anymore because I don't know how he fits. And now I get it, and I'm all
But Chris
in.
Pine as an asshole, which Chris Pine can do, right? So that's
Yeah.
really the thing we need to be.
I think
Thank
he
you,
fits right in.
But
Chris
yes,
Pine is the Princess Diaries too, Chris, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Or Kirk, but yes, also.
Or Into the Woods. He was in the movie adaptation of Into the Woods, which is my favorite Chris Pine call out of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Don't Worry, Darling premiere makes me think the My Policeman trailer also came out this week.
And
Which
that's another movie that had me in the first half. Not gonna lie, like from day one of that movie, I also was like, well, I'm not sure about this choice, Harry. And then I saw the uniform getting burned, and I was like, okay, there's more here than I thought. I know nothing about the book. I think it's based on the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not read the book. I probably won't read the book. I'm not going to lie. So I know there's like a little bit of not constructive criticism, very valid criticism happening around how it's like a queer story being told through the lens of the woman. And I don't know if the movie decenters her and puts it from Harry's perspective, which is kind of what the trailer is making me think a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
That one's, and the fact that I thought it was going to theaters, but it looks like it's going straight to Amazon, which I did not know.
It has a week in theaters, so it can be eligible for the Oscars. A movie has to premiere in a certain amount of theaters for at least 7 days to be eligible for the Oscars.
Okay.
Which
well,
is why
what did you say
got exactly 7 days in theaters.
What did you say off the top? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I'm gonna leave my thoughts on My Policeman there for now. Harry's in it. I hope he gets a check.
Sure, yeah.
We are out of time. So one thing we wanted to do that was on the list was there's this trend going around about 3 Marvel characters that make up your personality. It's a trend happening right now on TikTok. So as we sign off, I would love to hear everyone's thoughts in the comments about what 3 Marvel characters you think make up each of our personalities and who we are. Sly, it was on your list. So do you have any thoughts that you want to contribute to this?
No, I just jotted it down because I remember we wanted to talk about it.
Do
But
you have any thoughts on who makes up your personality?
I would love to know what everybody else thinks are the characters who make up my personality.
Not Clint Barton, even though we call you the Hawkeye Stan. I would not say you're Clint Barton because I love
MCU, Clint, no.
Yeah.
I think
Scott Lang, is that mean? I mean that as a compliment.
I
never know how people feel about Scott Lang.
I don't think I'm gutsy enough to be a convict.
Oh, you so are.
Just make it interesting.
I think you're Loki, personally. I think you've got like a Loki moon.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Scott's sun, Loki moon, and Carol Danvers rising.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are not at all anybody who I would pick for myself.
Really?
So that's
Who would you pick for
fascinating
yourself?
to me.
Who would you pick for yourself?
Oh God. Sousa. Maria, Claire, Darcy. Like
Sure.
like those are my favorites.
See, I imagine you marrying Darcy, so I can't say you're Darcy.
Okay, fair. No, I'm definitely not cool enough to be Darcy.
We did get a great answer here for Marissa. Bucky with the cake sun, Bucky with the cake moon, and Bucky with the cake rising.
Yeah.
there anyone else you would throw into that?
I mean, I would say Yelena, but I think Bucky with the cake specifically is on the same level as Yelena. So not Bucky all the time, but Bucky with the cake.
I think you've got a little Kate Bishop in you too, a little Kate sass. You know how Kate gets sassy? You've got a little.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I would say Marissa is Bucky with a cake. I am grumpy old man Bucky.
Yeah. Bucky at the sushi restaurant.
I am. How old are you? 106. Like that's me energy.
I'm Steve Rogers when he comes back at age 96. That's me.
He's 117, but sure.
Okay, you know what I mean. Alexis,
I did the math.
I feel like is easy.
Natasha.
I neither confirm or deny.
I don't know who else I would throw in the mix for you.
I know.
Maybe Dottie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love Dottie.
Yeah.
I
Queer
also want
icon.
maybe like a Wanda just for the like sweet exterior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is not being reasonable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. That's good. That's very accurate, actually. I didn't think we'd get anyone past Natasha, and I feel like we just came full circle with that.
I do that cold snap that Wanda does. That is a thing that I do.
Yeah.
when I
Oh,
get-
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we forgot Alpine.
Oh, obviously.
Obviously. Yeah. Okay, who am I? Who am I? I have a
Eros?
cheat of an answer. Wait, sorry, what'd you say? I
Harry
missed it.
Styles.
Oh yeah, I'm Arrows.
I said Eros.
Clearly. Yeah. That's a good one.
I would put Kingo in there for you.
Oh, see, I was gonna say Fastos.
I was gonna say that.
Oh.
Because you
I
have
just- the
leader
whole, like-
energy, but you're not like a Nick Fury. And you're not like a Steve Rogers. Maybe you're Sam Wilson.
I would say Sam.
Maybe a
Yeah.
Sam leader type energy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that does make you my Bucky, so that checks
That
out.
checks out.
I think that the character that I actually am like a carbon copy of is Gwen Stacy from Amazing Spider-Man. Like that.
Yeah.
If you want to know what I was like in high school, like quite literally down to the outfit, down to the extracurriculars, like that. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm very seen in Emma Stone.
I see your Gwen Stacy and I raise you Spider-Gwen.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
What was that,
Much
like
choice there.
the 2015
Yeah.
run? The one right before Radioactive. That's the vibes I'm thinking.
The deep cut. I respect it. I appreciate it.
I was gonna say, I feel like Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Gwen, we don't know enough about.
But I
So,
liked her like ballet vibes, so I think we all kind of felt that a little bit.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
love
we
it.
did that quickly.
We did
Look at
that
us
quickly.
go.
Now we can all go do the trend. Thank you everyone for helping inform our next TikTok. Can't wait to go film it. I'm producer Liz. You can find me everywhere on the internet, probably making more vlogs from my footage in New York, and giving more hot takes about One Direction. One thing I love about this show is that we actually give space for conversation to take place, and we try and come in with our honest opinions, and having done research and having given thought to the people that watch and the space we want to hold for conversation. So I encourage you, if you see content that does not feel that way, to tell your friends who are frustrated by it that there is a place they can come to talk about Marvel where people are given a fair chance to speak and be heard, and things aren't just categorized into misogynistic comparisons. And there's been a lot A lot of that happening around this show. And we don't claim to be perfect, but we're trying to do something a little bit different than what a lot of creators, I think, are doing with their narratives around this show. So that would be my plug for the week is we're happy to hold space and have conversation. And I hope that more creators start jumping on that train and stop labeling things unfairly because it's really doing a disservice to really great content. That's me. Marissa?
I am Miss Abobissa on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find me yelling about Disney Plus content, Disney broader content, Disney's approach to Pride, Pride in general, theater, wigs, and our Flag Means Death, which I did not bring up once during this show until the very end. Thank you. Congratulate me.
We're this close to getting a full episode without it.
We will never go a full episode without it. We will never.
It's taken 911 Lone Star status. We have 911, 911 Lone Star, and our Flag Means Death.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Alexis.
I'm Alexis. At Alexis Blake Reads Comics on TikTok and at Alexis D Blake with an underscore everywhere else on the internet. But I did want to take a moment to shout out a buddy. So a mutual of mine, call me by my name, Maria, all together, no spaces, is on TikTok doing some really wonderful content about Miss Marvel. She is a Pakistani immigrant, and she's had some really great takes on the different relationships in the show and like the meaning of things that I couldn't begin to even notice. She's got some great videos on chai tea and great videos on the boys and white boys trying really hard. And so if you're interested in more content about the show, I want you to watch us, but I want you to go watch her too.
Love. And Sly.
Hi, I'm at Cyclone MC everywhere on the internet, where you can find me having existential breakdowns about AO3 going down on Twitter. You can find me getting aggressively called out by JJ's therapist on Thirsty Thursdays on
That was
TikTok
real.
Live every Thursday. You can find me yelling about video games on Point in Progress and talking about all of the non-MCU Marvel movies over at MC University.
We did it. Have we plugged all the things? Hooray! All right, everybody. Go enjoy episode 3 of Miss Marvel. Go enjoy Only Murders in the Building, because y'all know we're about to jump on that Only Murders train, and we're not getting off all summer long, so make sure you are caught up. I saw earlier in the chat someone said they'd finished season 1. Love that for you. This is one of your final warnings to take the time to go watch it before we start our commentary. And we'll see you next week for more Miss Marvel, more unpacking all the shows we love and doing it with all of you. So have a great week, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye. I don't have the banner up. Oh, shit. Hold on. Okay.